Companies across the nation and right here in the Tri-State are making changes to come into line with the requirements of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. After all this time, will Obamacare actually mean more people insured? The CEO of Cincinnati-based Kroger is saying, not necessarily. Ben has the reality check you won't see anywhere else.
In an interview with the Financial Times, Kroger CEO David Dillon said that some companies may just choose to pay a government fine rather than provide more insurance to employees. We'll explain his reasoning for that in a minute. But first, let's get you caught up on what is happening with the health insurance mandates. The first thing to know is that the ACA does not guarantee insurance for all employees. Rather, it is structured with something called the free rider provision. Under that provision, businesses with fewer than 50 employees are not required to provide insurance. Firms with over 50 employees are, but they can provide their own insurance. However, if a firm has, say, 51 employees, 50 receive insurance through the employer, but just one receives government subsidized insurance through Obamacare, then that employer will be fined $3,000 for that one employee. Okay, so what happens if the company has, say, 51 employees and 50 of them have no insurance, but one gets subsidized insurance? Well, in that case, the employer would be fined $42,000. Fine for every employee not being provided health insurance. Also, under the ACA, the definition of full-time employees is not 40 hours a week, as most people know it, it's 30 hours. So what are companies doing to avoid these penalties? Dunkin' Brand CEO Nigel Travis said that the donut chain, they're actually lobbying to change the definition under Obamacare of full-time work from 30 hours a week to 40 hours a week, a move that they say would save companies money because they would end up insuring fewer workers. Youngstown State University here in Ohio, they announced last week that they will limit the hours of non-union part-time employees to ensure that the university is not required to provide them with health insurance coverage. The memo, which was republished by the Huffington Post, states that part-time employees, including adjunct professors and lecturers, are restricted to 29 hours a week or less. And if employees cross that threshold, they will be fired. Some fast food chains are considering slashing workers' hours so that fewer will qualify for health insurance, while others are keeping their numbers of employees below 50 to avoid the insurance costs. Well, what this means for you is that more and more companies are cutting back on the number of hours available to employees, or just cutting the number of employees in general. But there is one more caveat. Remember, the punishment for not covering employees is a fine. Well, Kroger CEO David Dillon says that some companies may choose just to pay that government fine rather than provide more insurance to employees, saying, quote, if you look through the economics of the penalty that the companies pay versus the cost to provide coverage, the penalty is too low, or the cost of coverage is too high, or the combination is wrong. Under that scenario, some companies could pay millions in fines to the federal government, but in the end, the number of insured workers may not rise all that much. And that is Reality Check.
You can find the sources for the story on our website, fox19.com. And if you'd like to make your voice heard, head over to Ben's Facebook page. Find it by searching Ben Swann.